Alrighty, let's get started. Welcome to A2NewTech tonight. Thanks everybody for making time to be out tonight and to join us. I know it's a busy time of year, people probably out of town, but glad to see the turnout we have tonight. Looks like the left side of the room is less popular, but thank you for starting that. We'll probably get some more people trickling in. I'm your host, David Nesbitt. I've been in Ann Arbor now for 10 years. A lot of the last 5 years working with tech startups here in Ann Arbor, and I just started a new role at UMich managing software projects for the Office of Academic Innovation. And since 2009, this meetup has been running. We've had 100 plus meetups, 350 plus companies, and we just hit the 7,000 member mark on meetup.com. So that's exciting, and that keeps climbing every month. And last year we had 60 pitches, and so that's pretty typical. We usually have about 4 or 5 pitches per month. So a lot of different companies coming through here and pitching over the last 9 years. So a question again to get us started, to get a sense of who's in the room. Who's the first time at Ann Arbor NewTech tonight? Raise a hand. All right, I've got a decent number of people, first timers. Who's hiring for a position? Okay, we got 1.5 hands. And who's looking for a position up here? So yeah, so a great place to come in and connect with other people who are here in the tech ecosystem, looking for a position, wanting to learn about the companies who are here in Ann Arbor. And so we do have a wonderful tech ecosystem here, and this is an important part of that, this group, to help us come together once a month and learn about what's going on in the tech community here, hear about the companies that are just starting, people that are launching ideas, and meet other people who are building and shaping the future of tech here in Ann Arbor. So we're glad that each of you is here, and I know that if you're here in the Ann Arbor tech community, you want this to be a supportive place, a place where you can get help with your ideas, you can help other people. And so see if you can help someone tonight with something that they're working on. Give them a connection to something, help them learn about something, or share a resource with them that's going to be helpful in what they're working on. And you can help build that tech community that we want to be a part of, that supportive place where people feel like they can actually achieve the things that they're shooting for. And we can help each other out. After our networking time tonight, or after our pitches tonight, we're going to have a networking time at Pizza House. And so stick around to eat some free pizza with us at Pizza House. It's a few blocks away, and our pizza tonight is courtesy of Ann Arbor SPARK. So to make sure you don't miss that time, it's a great time to come and actually connect with individuals. We're here. Afterwards, you'll be able to do that a little bit, but usually there's a little bit more mingling over at Pizza House. You can chat with the presenters or just meet other people who are here tonight. So another thing to take note of in the next month, maybe while you have some time off for the holidays, you might think about doing this. We have a Slack channel. You can find it at madein-a2.com/Slack. And so that's where you can join that Slack channel. So on that Slack channel, you find a variety of things, a variety of different channels based on your interests and kind of what you want to be tuned in for. But you'll definitely find general announcements for the tech community here in Ann Arbor. People might post up their jobs that they're looking for, or hiring for, and more. And so check that out. That's a great way to engage with this group of people in the month between our meetups and to stay more connected. I want to take a quick second also to say thank you to some people and orgs that make this event possible. So one of those is A2 Geeks, which is a nonprofit dedicated to making Southeastern Michigan and Ann Arbor a great place for geeks and creatives to live, work, and play. Also a big thank you to Rayle, who does video for our meetup every month. His company R2Vive, if you want to hire his company for this kind of work or any other kind of video work, look up R2Vive. Let's give Roger a round of applause just for filming. You can find, because of Roger's work, you can actually find our other meetups, the video feeds from those, on the meetup page or on Roger's YouTube channel. So I know last month he sent a link out to both the video for that month after the meetup, as well as to historic Ann Arbor NewTech meetup videos on YouTube. So you can find all of those, go back and check out other pitches that you missed or months that you missed, or share it with someone you think really could or be interested in one of the pitches. And so I encourage you to check those out. I also want to say thank you to some of the co-organizers over the years who have helped to make this happen. Doug Song, Zach Steinler, Scott Ghosty, David Bloom, David Corcoran, Brian Kelly, Brooke Boyle, and others. Some of those here today. These people helped this event happen and curating presenters and making sure we have a pipeline of people to pitch for this. And so thank you to them. And then also the Entrepreneurship Clinic at U of M Law School. Dana Thompson's the founding director of Michigan Law's Entrepreneurship Clinic. And they help us get this space every month, which is super helpful, so we have a place for our group to gather. And if you're a company in Michigan, especially a startup, you can actually, through the Entrepreneurship Clinic, get free IP, corporate, and other various legal services from the law students here at U of M. And so you can contact Laura Schiltz, who's the clinic administrator, and she can get you connected with the services that they offer for companies like yours. And then lastly, I mentioned Ann Arbor SPARK is sponsoring our pizza tonight. Ann Arbor SPARK is committed to bringing together organizations and individuals to support the growth of companies and the creation of jobs. And so we appreciate them sponsoring the pizza, and they provide a lot of services to companies here in Ann Arbor. So check out Ann Arbor SPARK if you're not familiar with them. And as we have some more people trickling, which is great, our agenda tonight, we're going to run until about 8 p.m. here. So we have 5 great companies and doing a 5-minute pitch, each of them, and then we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A after each one. After that, we also will have a community announcements time. So if you have a community announcement, that could be a meetup that you want to promote, it could be an announcement about an event coming up that you're putting on, or a job you're hiring for, a collaborator you're looking for. You can kind of interpret that broadly. Then we'd love to have you think about that, write it down, and then we'll have people line up on the side and come up after the pitches. I'll call everyone out for community announcements, and you can one at a time make your 1 to 2 minute pitch. Something to note about the pitches tonight, we're going to have 5 of these pitches, and they've thought through what they want to share with the audience, and they know a lot about their business plan. So afterwards in the Q&A time, one of the things I want to ask is that if you have a question you'd like to ask in that Q&A time, that please do that in the form of a question. You'll raise your hand, we'll call on you, and just to make it clear who's speaking at what time, and then put it in the form of a question so they actually have something to respond to. I know it can be tempting to give feedback. A lot of us have different thoughts about pitches that are going on. You may be excited about what they shared, but try to put it in the form of the question so that they can engage the whole audience with what they respond with. And I'll have a timer up here for each of the pitches, and so we'll keep them each to 5 minutes, and that wraps up our announcements in the beginning. So we're going to get right into our pitches with our first presenter, which is Principal Interest. And so Joseph Gracia is here to present. Principal Interest is designed by behavioral scientists and powered by software. And it's an automated repayment guide that helps students from the point they leave school to manage their student loans and build healthy financial lives.
No, we're not working. So I moved from Boston as an entrepreneur in residence at Ideas 42, a behavioral science firm, earlier this summer to start and build a company here in Ann Arbor. Let's talk about federal student loans. Some of you may be familiar with it. Today, 45 million people collectively owe $1.4 trillion in federal debt. It's become the second largest consumer debt category behind mortgages, larger than credit card debt, larger than auto loan finances. And as a country, every year we have 4 million people leaving school with $125 billion in debt. And recent research from Judah Scott Clayton, a professor of economics at Columbia University, shows 40% will end up defaulting at least once over the life of their loans. 10.5% of the 45 million are in default today. Now, this is a bit of an issue. I'll say something slightly provocative. This is not a financial issue. Not purely a financial issue. What do I mean? Of the 45 million, actually 25 million, more than half, owe less than $20,000, which is not nothing, but it's not that financial avalanche you may have imagined when you heard those first statistics. And then amazingly enough, this is the most interesting data I've seen this year. The less you owe when you leave school in federal student debt, the more likely you are to default. So someone who owes less than $5,000 when they leave school is about twice as likely to default as someone who owes over $100,000. And if you were what we at Ideas 42 call a traditional economist, meaning your worldview is that humans are rational actors, making decisions and taking actions to maximize their utility, you would look at this system as it's designed today on paper and predict a near 0% default rate. And you would do that because there are protections in place literally available to everyone such that you can pay 10 to 15% of your discretionary income and stay in good standing on your loans. That means you can potentially pay $0 a month and still stay in good standing on your federal student loans. That's income-driven repayment. There's also options like deferment and forbearance. You lose your job, face economic hardships, etc., to get reprieve on your federal student loans. And so we have a situation here where we have people defaulting that don't need to be. And what's going on? Well, coming from Ideas 42, what we've realized is there's a number of behavioral pitfalls that are undermining borrowers during the repayment process. Quick quiz. Here you're seeing a number of European countries, and on the y-axis you're seeing the percentage of citizens in those countries who are registered organ donors. What explains the difference between the blue and the gray countries? Anyone? Yes?
Default choice.
Default choice, opt-in versus opt-out. In the countries in blue, they're opt-out. You're automatically assumed to be an organ donor. In the countries in gray, you're opt-in. You could spend millions of dollars on marketing campaigns trying to convince people to be organ donors like we do in the US. You'd never get over 25%. You can take the same millions of dollars and spend it in countries here trying to convince them not to be organ donors. You'd never get below 85%. Shows the power of default, how that applies here. And actually, Dr. Susan Donarski, a professor here, recently came out with a paper in November that shows this power applied specifically to student loans. All 45 million people today are defaulted onto the same 10-year repayment plan. And so that has tremendous impacts. And they actually go as far as the DOE in calling it the standard plan. So if you're a young adult and you don't understand this space, you think, well, I'm not weird, I'm not abnormal. The standard plan they put me on is obviously what should work for me. But you see people on these payment plans end up at a higher default rate than those that move on to other plans. Who is this hurting? Well, actually, schools care about this because they're measured by the Department of Education on what's called the cohort default rate, which is basically how many of your students are leaving school and defaulting on their loans they took out to go to that school within 3 years. If your cohort default rate climbs above 30%, you can lose access to all federal student loan funding, which is basically a death blow for any school. More importantly, this is starting to play into rankings and reputation. So this is college scorecards. Students go in, they see what the default rates are at the different schools. Washington Monthly, direct input into the rankings and reputations. Servicers care about this because there's about 4 big ones that service the 45 million people, and they're actually paid per borrower they're managing based on the status of that borrower. $35 a year if you're in good standing, all the way down to $4.50 if you're super delinquent, eventually going into default. And then borrowers care because 35% of your FICO credit score is made up of your payment history. So if you default on your loan, your credit score gets crushed, and you potentially end up with around a 550 average credit score. You don't have access to credit cards, auto loans in the financial services industry, pushed to the fringes, which is often more predatory. So our solution is to sell into schools initially, offering a revised version of exit loan counseling that schools are federally mandated to provide their students, and then 3 years of repayment guidance. We can build a business that's sustainable just in selling to schools, but ultimately where we want to head is a la Credit Karma or NerdWallet, addressing for students their biggest financial need when they're leaving school, which is federal student loans, and then helping them as a guide as we're building trust with them on the other needs they'll have, whether that be credit cards, auto loans, etc. The team, as I said, is a number of behavioral scientists from Ideas 42, and the asks are, we're currently halfway through a fundraise of $500,000, so we're working through that and on our way. But really our first hire is going to be someone with school sales experience, and then we're building the MVP in Q1, and so we're looking for a software development support. Pause. Questions? None. Perfect. Yes?
There was a team out of Innovation and Action, School of Public Health, I believe, that was addressing a similar problem about a year ago. Any relation? I'm trying to figure out the genesis, just because if you're tackling a similar problem in, from what I remember vaguely, similar ways, that would be really interesting as far as an introduction goes.
It would be really interesting. I have not heard of them or come across them yet, so there's no relationship to date.
I'll make sure I get your contact info and find them.
Perfect, thank you.
Other questions?
Just to clear, you said you're coming from Austin, but are you based here or?
My family and I now live in Ann Arbor, and I work at Cahoots, and here's where we're building the business.
Cool.
Yes?
At what point in the process are you generating revenue?
So schools, there's actually a cottage industry right now called cohort default rate management, where schools are paying, Community College of Philadelphia is paying a cohort default rate manager $45,000 a year. So there's an $80 million market that we can go after to generate revenue initially. Again, that's a small market, but what it allows us to do is build a sustainable company so that we can then take shots at the big play, which is the financial services guidance play, a la NerdWallet or Credit Karma.
Yeah.
I understand in marketing to the education system because they obviously have a better way to opt in or not opt out. What about banks? I realize that a lot of loans are federally funded, but a whole lot of them are going to be banks. If you can set up, have a deal with them where if they finance through, let's say, Discover Bank, that they automatically get opted into your program. Is this an idea?
Sure, so the system we're building for federal student loans specifically, I think can be applied to any creditor-borrower relationship. And so I believe that's what you're saying. As we go down the line, there are more opportunities for what we're doing here to apply to other type of loan scenarios. Is that what you're?
More or less, and plus, I mean, those are the interest rates that are a lot higher than the federally subsidized loans.
Yes.
Other questions?
Have you figured out how long the sales cycles are with something like a university? Because I feel like that's going to be a really long amount of time.
So
you know, to
sales
actually
cycle.
sell
So
something.
enterprise sales create their own set of challenges and their own
Yeah.
set of opportunities. I've spoken with EAB, Interfolio, Everify, a number of leaders in the edtech space, and have know full well the process and the challenges of the sales cycle.
Okay.
The reason we're looking to go through schools specifically is because even though there's a harder upfront sales cycle, once you get in with those schools, everybody agrees it's very hard to get yourself removed. And so we're willing to put in the upfront work because this builds an acquisition funnel such that even if we don't sign any additional schools in the second year, our customer base doubles. And we could be bringing up to 4 million students onto our system every year by having that relationship and getting paid for it so that our CAC is either very low as $4.50 for each borrower coming onto the system, to even an opportunity where we're getting paid for borrowers to come onto our system.
What opportunities do you have for growth? Where would you go?
Where would I go at what point?
Well, you have a current market, but where are you going to go after that? Is this concept only good for colleges, or
So
where else would you take this idea?
if we're selling into schools and have a decent number of schools and a decent number of the 4 million young adults coming onto our system every year, then we're talking about $1 billion market opportunity that Credit Karma and NerdWallet are playing in, which is generating revenue through financial service referrals. Does that make sense?
I guess. Well, what's your exit?
Well, there's a few potential exits. One is we become a servicer ourselves because there's a lot of reasons to believe we could be doing it better than the current services are. 2, we get bought by a servicer, one of the big servicers, Navient, Nelnet, etc. 3 is potentially, if it all goes great, I mean, we're in a position with Credit Karma or NerdWallet and looking at an IPO.
Other questions?
Last question on you're looking at software development shops. If you go back a slide or two, do you actually have a CTO or a?
No, so the team right now is I'm on it full time. Mark Layton, we came from a company called OPower, which is leveraging behavioral science and software. And so Mark hired me in 2011 and ran product there. And so we're potentially going to bring a hire in-house, or we're going to have a shop build it out in Q1 so that we can be launched in the graduation season, and then we'll bring that resources in-house afterwards.
Awesome, that's all the time we got. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
So our next presenter is Kyle Zaptel from Portal Spaces. And Portal Spaces is creating virtual reality workspaces in which you can have an infinite amount of screens and collaborate with anyone from anywhere. As he's getting set up, a fun fact about Kyle, he went to the Dominican with a few friends over break, Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
And there were 2 homeless puppies living on the beach, and they visited them every day. And on the last day, they decided to take them home. So Kyle is now the proud owner of a female puppy named Yogi.
Yeah. Thank you. So hi, I'm Kyle Zapatel, co-founder of Portal Spaces. So this summer I worked at Microsoft and I was a software engineer for Xbox. Xbox is really innovative. They work really agilely, and they have open workspace environments. And open workspace is famed for helping increase collaboration and having all these benefits that I'm going to counter. So when I worked in an open workspace environment, I was actually a lot more stressed and distracted. And it turns out this isn't only me. There's been extensive research that shows that a majority of open workspace workers are much more stressed and distracted, and it takes away from their overall productivity. And interestingly enough, the whole thesis of open workspace, which is, hey, it increases collaboration. That's great for our company, has recently been disproven by a Harvard Business study, which essentially found that people are 70% more likely to use email and instant message to talk to their coworkers who are literally, down the hall from them. So the real question is, why are people still using open workspace? And why is it this innovative way of having people work? And that's because at the end of the day, what's the bottom line? It's to make money. And it saves a company a lot of money when they go to switch to open workspace. And this sums it up. This is the guy who did the Harvard Business Research study and found that, what I said previously. And he says, hey, it's going to lower costs if you have more people per square foot. But what do you lose in the process? You lose productivity, and how does that add up? So there's another study that shows that in open workspace, people were more likely, they have 5 more days of sick, they usually use 5 more days of sick days on average compared to non-open workspace environments. So just looking at that, we're talking about a loss of $250 billion a year in productivity just from the sick days. So what's the potential solution? Let's talk about virtual reality workspace. You put on a virtual reality headset, it's a private focused workspace, you don't feel stressed, you don't feel all the social pressures around you, you're in any environment that you want. So our value proposition is simple for the CFO. Hey, you have this problem where people are less productive in your open workspace environments. We get that it saves you money. But if you subscribe to our service, we provide you with a virtual reality headset, all the hardware you need to run this on even a laptop, and you use our service, and this will save you money in your bottom line. So it recovers from those losses. The value proposition for the employee comes down to a lot of cool features. We can have collaboration, so avatars can enter your workspace and people can be anywhere in the world and collaborate. You can have virtual multiple screens, so your computer is limited by this one little 13-inch screen. You could have 5 giant big screens surrounding you. And then finally, you can set your environment. There's been multiple research studies that show that when you are in an environment that you feel content in, it'll increase happiness, it'll increase productivity, and ultimately increase your health. So how it works, it's really simple. We send you a black box in our VR headset, you download our software, and then you're done. You run it. So our business model is pretty straightforward. We have a free version where you can emulate your desktop within virtual reality, one screen. We have the full feature set. You pay $25 a month to have this full feature set, and that's assuming you have a virtual reality headset. And then you don't have a virtual reality headset, you don't have the hardware that you need, you can pay $150 a month, we'll send it to you. There's no extensive contract or anything like that. You send it back to us if you don't like it after the first month, and then you're working in virtual reality. So our market, 70 million people use our work within open workspace. 3.5 million of those people work in medium-sized companies. The reason we like medium-sized is faster sales cycles, and then also they actually have the capital, unlike startups, to invest in something like this. And we just want 0.1% of that. That's our first target. And that'll generate us a revenue of somewhere between 3 million and 9 million annual recurring revenue. So our traction so far, we've talked to Cahoots. They're interested. They've signed a letter of intent to pilot our product. We've talked to the University of Michigan Virtual Reality Laboratory. It's an open workspace with 20 VR headsets. They're interested in trying our full feature set. And then finally, we've tested with 10 plus students and professionals. So we've actually been working on it for around 12 weeks now. So we got an alpha version working. This is somebody trying it out, and you'll see right here, that's what it looks like within virtual reality. You have your screen, and then whatever environment you'd like. Finally, this is us. I'm Kyle Zapatel. I'm a CS senior at the University of Michigan. And then my co-founder is the CTO and co-founder. He's a computer engineer at the University of Michigan. And then finally, what we're looking for, since I'm out of time, we are seeking a pre-seed round to essentially cover the costs of the virtual reality headsets up front for that $150 a month service. And then we also want to hire a peer engineer and potentially a UX UI designer. So thank you.
Excellent. Questions for Kyle? In the back.
Did you know any study about the effects of having that thing every day, 8 hours a day, and the eyesight? I mean, does it affect that people get tired of it? Or
Yeah, we don't see this as you're working 8 hours a day in it. We see it as a productivity tool that when you need to get stuff done, you go into virtual reality and get stuff done. But there haven't been too many studies from what we found on the effects of having a screen that close to your eyes. But yeah, definitely something we've considered, and we think that because it's just this productivity tool, it's okay.
Is there a key?
Sorry.
Is there a key age demographic in the workforce that you think would be more receptive, or if you're an employer and you have a certain demographic in your workforce?
Yeah.
Are you targeting that now? Really, with the college being, probably someone who has
Yeah, definitely.
students in that target demographic. I'm not sure if you have research. on
Yeah,
that.
so our target demographic is definitely on the younger end, so I'd say 35 below, more receptive to new technologies, less resistant to new technologies, obviously. But yeah, so we think that the virtual reality lab is going to offer a great opportunity to figure out what is our age range? Do these young people really like it? And then try to get more people from, let's say, Hoops, who are maybe a little bit older than these college students, and say, how receptive are they to this technology? But it's something that we're kind of testing. Again, we've done 13 now tests. Majority younger people, they've been really receptive to it.
Question back here?
Yeah, so let's say a company signs up for your service. Do you see them having most of their workforce work remotely, or would they just be in an environment of using your headsets?
Yeah. We imagine a future where people don't have to go to work and they all work within virtual reality workspaces. Right now, we imagine it as a productivity tool. You come to work, you need to focus, you go use one of the VR headsets on that bench over there. Not everyone has everyone. And yeah, so that's kind of like the vision now and the vision in the future. They're two separate things, but they encompass that.
Right here?
I'm just curious if you've thought about safety with this, just because, for example, fire alarms, if we have our eyes out, we can see the flashing, we can hear the noise. If we're wearing a headset with maybe music on, we won't be aware of things like that. Have you thought about a way to make it more safe in a work environment?
No. But
Okay.
it's a really good point, and I think it's something that we should think about. Because to be honest, the use case is, hey, you also have your noise canceling headphones on, so how are you going to know if the fire alarm's going off?
Exactly.
Yeah, syncing that up, with a computer wouldn't be super complicated, especially with how IoT devices work today. So I think that problem is easily solvable, but definitely thank you for the thoughts.
I used to work for U of M and they're safety crazy, so I thought I'd just
No,
throw out that little doop.
Good tidbit to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Two things. There's a recent article that came out about a company where about 80-90 people work remote, and instead they created a virtual island office in VR where people can connect. So I almost wonder if that might be a specific pain point companies with all virtual workers to maybe explore. And then two, we own and operate a co-working space in Detroit. So if you want to come by Bamboo, we're happy to host you. We do a day of just beta testing, feedback. We have all kinds of sizes and ages at Bamboo, so you can kind of target a few people for feedback. So I'm happy to host you.
Do you know the name of that company by chance?
The real estate company, I just found out.
It's a real estate company.
It was in Business Insider last week.
Because I know a lot of the VR companies are they do that. They work within virtual reality, and some of them work remote, which is interesting. But it's all internal tooling.
So it's a real estate, I think, private equity and development company, and I think it was about 100 employees. They work all across the country.
That's awesome.
So they crafted this virtual reality island where people go on boats and connect on an island, and they meet up in real life too. And some of the employees were sharing feedback. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's all the time we have for questions. Thank you. All right, and moving right along, our next pitch is Mo Kakwan is pitching Blabberize. And Blabberize allows you to take any picture and make it talk with your voice in augmented reality.
Hi, I'm Blabberize. I am Mo Kakwan, the creator of Blabberize. The Webster Dictionary defines perseverance as continued effort to do or achieve. Hold on, why is this not playing?
So in conclusion, I'll ask this
no.
850 billion.
No, we're not asking for that.
Yes, I think that's it.
No, that's not it.
150 million.
No. We're not asking for that. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here talking to these people. We're not asking for that much money.
But you said $1 billion was too much. By the way, where's Mark Cuban? I thought he was going to be here.
This isn't Mark Cuban's not here. This isn't Shark Tank. I don't know why you're doing this. You're not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to do this. This is the A2Tech meetup. It's my own thing.
What?
Yeah. He's like, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be gone. This is my thing. I'm supposed to be introducing these people to the app and the website. You're supposed to go. I don't need you here.
Oh, I don't know you do. I honestly don't know. You only have 4 minutes left, and you wasted most of that time arguing with me. So I don't know. You look like you still need my help, buddy.
I don't need your help. You gotta go. You can come to the pizza party afterwards.
Oh, I'm trying to cut out my gluten intake. It just doesn't really work with me. But I'll probably eat the cheese off your pizza.
All right. Well. That's my buddy, he's gone. So that's Blabberize, right? Blabberize allows you to make any picture talk. You can select an image, select the mouth, record some audio, and make it talk. This GIF is actually the website. It's showing you just a quick way of how you select it, but we're trying to do something more. To give you kind of a context of how much traction we have, if you Google Make Pictures Talk, Blabberize should be the first result. At least it was 3 hours ago. I don't know if we've been dethroned. But we've made hundreds of, millions of blabbers, and we've been used in hundreds of classrooms around the country, as well as in other countries. Educators are actually our primary users for this. They use it for having their students speak their compositions in 4 languages, have their research projects come to life. Anything that requires media that they can input into their project, they love using Blabberize. And we have like a huge Twitter following from people who are doing it. I sometimes sit in classes and actually help them out. What they love about it is that it can actually be done in less than 45 minutes. It's a really quick and easy to use tool, and it allows you to create media that can be visceral and engaging and imported in. So our thesis and kind of mission goal for this project is we want to create tools that allow you to tell stories. And we're moving into a world where now we're getting even more amazing tools to create those stories with. But it's not easy. That's the problem. We have cameras, which are ubiquitous in all of our phones, so you get Snapchat, you can make face filters, but those don't really let you tell stories. You're consuming assets from people. VR headset creation tools, they're wonderful, but they're super expensive. And even then, you may need some experience to create some stuff from there. People really want to be in the upper right-hand corner where you can actually make your own content that's fully expressive, designed for what you want. Blabberize sits up in the upper left. We're trying to make easy, cheap tools that are both easy to use and very expressive. You're telling your own story. You're not telling someone else's. So our first step in kind of like trying to capture that space is Blabberize iOS. The only difference between this and before is now you're in augmented reality and you have to remove the background. So it's still a very quick and easy process to set up. We're looking to make it easier. So we're trying to take that same experience that we've created, where you have your actors, and then we give you tools to kind of flesh out the universe you want to create it in. So we want to, in 2019, we're creating an asset store within our app where you can buy other things to place into your world and use with your creations. Our team, I worked in the game development industry before, and then I had a consultancy, then I worked in defense contracting and built search engines. Alex Pierre is a VR researcher and a PhD candidate at the University of Madison, Wisconsin. Kimi Shirasaki is a MIT grad, and she helps us with all sorts of stuff. What we're looking for is investors, someone who can help us accelerate this kind of vision, and creators who can help embellish our app store.
Questions from Mo?
Yeah.
The voice, did you do that yourself or is that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So if you go to the site, there's an alpaca that talks, and the alpaca is me, that voice is me.
So you just type it in and they speak.
Oh no, that's me doing the voice. Like literally, you puppeteer these actors. When you put them up there, you place them out in front of you, and you're oh, what are you doing over there? You're doing the voice. You're making them change their positions. I mean, like one of the things is that actor. Oh, someone's got it playing. I was like, what is that? Is the alpaca? Yeah, when that was up there, I actually drew out that drawing, and then I made those different states for it. That's the version that we're actually beta testing right now. Right now, it's a static image. But yeah, you can change all that stuff.
How long does it take to make one? What you did there, how long did it take?
I spent a lot of time on it. So that one took about 45 minutes to sit down and take. There's a reason why the asset store kind of speeds it up. For a single image, it takes you a minute and a half. Okay. I could actually do it in front of you, but it's a little difficult to set it up. Yeah.
What would you do with an investment?
So we have like a large sort of amount that's going to be spent on building the asset store. We want to actually bring in the artists. Like it takes me 45 minutes to draw one out, but also advertising to teach and educate. So this is kind of like one of the things of people have these devices that are $1,000 in their hands. And then when you start asking them to draw stuff, like if I go back to one of the slides, let's see if I can go back to here. Let's see if we can play this. So this is going to jump through. You can see there's a step here where I'm removing the background. And I'm telling you to scribble on what's there and then just roughly scribble on what's there. There's a bit of an education that's there. And then kind of getting used to it. Like the first Blabberize site when we made it, it actually took years before we actually got into classrooms. They actually had to get used to it. They had to build the lesson plans and all that stuff. So there's a ramp of both giving the assets to make people have ease of use, and then a education platform to kind of go towards getting people aware that it's there. Yes.
So why do your teachers choose Blabberize versus say Extra Normal or some of those kinds of, you know?
So I think Extra Normal like went out of business for a little period and then they came back. They did use Extra Normal, and I think like what it had to do with was there's a bit of expressiveness. So Extra Normal was the same problem which a lot of these other apps have, is that you're using their assets. So you're talking as a pig, and then you're typing in with a computer voice. It's hello, how are you? Of course, those have gotten better, but it's not as expressive. When you're creating your own sort of stuff, even if it's your kid's drawing and it's like super scribbly and gross, they're super excited when it's talking.
In the back?
So I have two main questions. The first one is that I use Snapchat a lot, and I'm just wondering how big of a step does this represent from creating your own Snapchat filters or from something that Snapchat might easily create?
So Snapchat could definitely, is like a huge threat, right? But the big issue is when you look at any of the Snapchat filters, it's pointing at your face and turning me into a cat. Or let me place a pre-created asset out into the world. One of the education aspects of this is you have a creation process here. And so that bridge of being able to kind of go between, hey, we've got a trained audience that recognizes this is what you do with this app, is kind of the big gap. Snapchat, and even if you look at like TikTok and Musical.ly, which are doing the same sort of stuff, they had a pottery app, but all you did was click and drag on things. You never really made something. This has like a full sort of workflow. So it's a little bit further out, but the results are a lot more personal.
Okay, so then second question, who exactly is your target demographic?
So the target demographic is not necessarily like the Snapchat crowd, so I think a little bit older, but I would say younger. So think back to like kids who played with action figures and dolls. Anyone who's trying to imbue a story or creation into that sort of thing. Like I remember as a kid, I would use paintbrush and I would record the screen dragging things around, trying to make cartoons and stuff, right? And so that's the same sort of crowd. Anybody who wants to tell a story, probably younger.
Time for one more, very back.
Do you have any expenses, like is all this done on the client side?
So this is all done on the client side. That's a really good question. We've actually transitioned quite a bit doing everything on the client side. Before this was all done on server, but we're fully supported by ads right now. I'm actually paid by ads on site and the traffic that it generates, and it pays for the servers as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next pitch tonight is Right There Where. We have John and Tom Heed who are here from Right There Where. And while he's getting set up, Right There Where is a patented, predictive, optimized navigation kernel.
Yeah, take that screw for a second. There we go. Oh, is that making like on me where it's in?
No.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So hi, I'm John Heed, and back there is my brother Tom, and we're the co-founders of Right There Where, or how you get predictive optimized mobility. Right now, according to Morgan Stanley, 400 to 500 billion hours are wasted each year being stuck in traffic and with suboptimal routing. They estimate that solving this and related issues can add $15 trillion to global GDP. The problem is that current navigation cores are inadequate to addressing this task. They're mostly built on 80s and 90s technology, and they all use irregular units of data collection and computation. This produces model bias, which cannot be error corrected, and it produces confounded statistics, which big data is not a solution for. It also produces compound error. All this means that they're not suitable for autonomous vehicle and ITS applications. Solution is we've patented the first fundamentally new navigation core in more than 25 years. It's issued in the US and the EU, and it's in the national phase in India, and it's fundamental or foundational. It covers every method of using regularly sized geographic areas as the data collection and computational unit. This is the only method that will not influence and therefore confound the results. And it also allows us to take into account every path, so we think that our IP is both protected and optimal, and it's one of the reasons that we were selected as winners of the Global Automotive Innovation Challenge in the infotainment category. That's a mouthful. So with this technology, we can cut the ETA error rate by more than half, reduce travel times 10 to 20%, more during peak traffic or bad weather when you need it the most, provide accurate time to leave functions, and optimize for other variables related to travel times, variability, speed, and location, so cost, price, fuel usage among them. Perhaps most importantly, we can provide these same advantages with autonomous vehicles. We're going to market this technology as a SaaS navigation engine, and a navigation engine just means we're doing the computations and we're plugged into other navigation and mapping software. Our thesis is that all things being roughly equal, nobody's going to want transportation that's slower, less efficient, and less reliable. Sorry, my screen did something funny for a second. Okay. So our target markets are the distribution channels to end users. Right now we're actively in talks primarily with cell phone companies, Kyocera, and we're slated to do a test project with Ford. We're not going to redo their navigation, we're just going to make their navigation better. And that better translates into, as one example for fleet vehicles, thousands of dollars per vehicle per year, both top line and bottom line. We think that by focusing on companies in these segments that we can achieve revenue of $82 million by 2024, do so at margins north of 30% after spending more than 20% on both product development and marketing. Our go-to-market strategy starts with the traffic study, which just measures node-to-node ETA accuracy. Just think of nodes as arbitrary points on a map. It's a simple test, but it's considered proof of concept at scale and in the field in the automotive and certain other markets. This means that we'll have something sellable and licensable in a matter of months and hopefully an increase in valuation as well. I mentioned that we're in talks with Ford and Kyocera. We've had talks with GM, AAA. We're under NDA with Verizon, and there's others I could mention as well. We also think, we also think that even early on we'll be an acquisition target for some companies that are big in this segment, the navigation and mapping companies. From there we go into a beta nav app, and throughout we're going to be very transparent about our accuracy and error rate. Companies in this segment right now go to some lengths not to let you see that. They'll let you see the faux clock that always miraculously says 0 when you pull in the driveway, but they don't let you see how far off those original predictions were. There's a reason for that. From there we go into test projects, high density areas, high density market segments, ride hailing in New York, and then start to look for partners to scale with. We're looking for $200,000 to fund the initial test project. And with the expected results, we'll need to raise another $200,000 roughly the middle of next year. We have the team that we believe can accomplish this. My brother Tom was a VP of product engineering for a tier 1. He actually managed the project to put the first 5 million lines of real-time code in an automotive head unit. He's also a patent and IP lawyer and a subject matter expert in statistics and probability. I got a lot of brothers, but he's my favorite. Jeff Childers was a former Tier 1 president who holds more than 20 patents. And I served as a vehicle for hire chief operating officer and also was Harman's fleet and facilities manager. Thank you.
It was like right at 5 minutes. Perfect. So he did that's rare. Questions? Yeah, sure.
So this looks really interesting. Can you use this technology for other places like agriculture?
We get asked that question an awful lot, and you could. We're not focused on it. I mean, we want to get the nav engine out there. We want to disrupt the navigation market. But yes, there are other things you could use it on. So.
Question right here.
How do you take your data?
Pro data, so it could be cell phones. Also, there's what you would call telematics or OBD2 plugins. So, as one example, we're going to be getting traffic perfect probe data sampled every second and communicated every 15 from Spirion starting the second quarter of 19. Now, you may not have heard of them, but they have 4 million vehicles. And our stuff is more data efficient than like Waze or whatever. 4 million vehicles is more than enough for us to populate out the country.
Right.
Yes?
So I know you mentioned Waze. What kind of differentiates you from a company like Waze that already does predictions for arrival times and things like that?
Sure. Increased accuracy and decreased travel times, and there's people for whom that matters. Mm-hmm. And Waze is one of those too that when they've actually been tested, and it's very small samples, the companies fight those a little bit, but the error rate's in the 20 to 25% range. We think we're going to cut that more than half. So, for everybody it won't matter, but for our investor in Silicon Valley that was driving from Los Altos up to South San Francisco and the ETA was off by an hour, not even going into the city.
So I guess just my other question as a Michigander, how are you going to, like for example, if you sell to a trucking company, how are you going to point out, okay, navigation system, don't take them down this dirt road, or they're not allowed to have trucks on this road?
You use different maps, so that comes in the interaction with the maps. We're not doing trucking right away because with cars you interact with one map.
Right.
With trucks I believe that's 7, but I could be wrong on that. So, but yeah, you can. Those are things that you can program in as you go along. Not to take dirt roads or make certain left-hand turns. Yes.
I guess I'm a bit confused on how you know traffic patterns without actually having data about traffic.
We do have data about traffic.
Oh, you do?
It's assuming that from the cell phones and from the OBD2 plugins.
Okay.
You have to have that. We
Okay.
need less than the other
I
guys
just don't
do,
know
but
the
we still have
technical
to have
side.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, John?
Who else are you competing with, actually?
So anybody that's in this space. So right now, Google does it, Garmin does it, TomTom. Our IP's optimal, we believe, easy to detect infringement. And we're going to use partnerships. But yeah, there's some serious competition out there now. As consumers, we tend to like those, but their reputation is not the same among professional drivers. So, that's where we're looking to get the foothold, if you will. Yes.
I know that, hearing stories from your friends and family is not the best market research, but I know a lot of people use Waze because it tells them where there's police. Is that, and that's something that comes from the users, it's not necessarily as targeted the market. I don't know, does that affect the
We could do
commercial
those.
drivers and so on? And is that something that you're going to incorporate to?
We can incorporate that later on. I'd be very curious to see if how the police reports and the construction reports and that, how those actually affect travel times and user decisions and that. That I haven't seen that they use it for anything other than passing it along to other users. So it'd be interesting to know. But yes, my brother is well qualified to want to know where the police are when he's driving. So.
Time for one more question?
Yes, when back.
So part of the reason why Google Maps is more accurate than most other mapping companies is that every time you use Google Maps, your location is being sent to Google servers. So they've got millions of devices using Google Maps, and that's how they get their traffic data. So how are you going to overcome that?
Well, that was one of the things I mentioned. So Spirion's actually higher quality data than they're getting out of theirs. That's the sample every second, which they're not getting through cell phones. And so there are other ways to do it. We need a lot less users to get over 90% accuracy, literally orders of magnitude less. And so we don't have to have every single Google user do that. And the other thing is, they can have a gazillion users. But if they're still using irregular units of data collection and computation, they're still going to confound things. And that's why when you use Google Maps or Waze, it's right on, it's right on, it's right on. And then it's like, what planet are you from? There's a very fundamental reason why that happens. When it's off, that you notice, it's not off by like 5 or 10 seconds. It's off like 40 minutes on the trip to Grand Rapids. That happened to me recently, so that's in my mind.
All right, that's all the time we got. Thank you. And our last pitch of the evening is Agile Care Solutions. So Bailey Paxton is here to pitch this for us. Agile Care Solutions is dedicated to building software solutions that bring community connectivity and care to the home health industry. And then a fun fact about Agile Care Solutions is that the inspiration for the company name came in the middle of Bailey's Intro to Computer Science class when he was watching a video on the science behind the OkCupid eHarmony algorithms.
So I've not been in the actual business at the time. All right, hi everyone, my name is Bailey Paxton. I'm the founder of Agile Care Solutions. So before we get started, just a quick show of hands. How many of you currently have a senior loved one who's in an assisted living or is receiving some sort of care at some point? Okay, excellent. So as I'm sure you understand, within the senior care industry, there's not very much transparency at all, right? So you give grandma a call and say, hey, grandma, how was your day? What were you up to? What were you doing? Oh, day was terrible. Well, why? What did you do? Oh, nothing. Oh, well, what do you eat? How was the food? Oh, just awful. Didn't have anything. They didn't feed me. That's the problem is you just don't know. And so after working as a caregiver and part of the office staff for a home health agency for the past 6 years, I've made it my mission to solve this problem. Right? So I'm putting together a team with decades of experience to build a solution that will solve this. So what you're seeing right now is the Agile Family Portal. And essentially it's a Facebook-style feed revolving around the health and status of your loved one. So family members and caregivers and facilities alike can post status updates, upload pictures, videos, moments, and memories, so you know exactly how your loved one is doing every day. Additionally, we have this daily task and wellness tracker where you can track the tasks that the caregivers perform, and as well as like the wellness in terms of mood, symptoms, physical activity, and mental activity, so you know exactly how this person's doing, and you can monitor their changing condition over time. Additionally, so when Grandpa gets sick of watching too much Golden Girls, you can share it to the family feed so everybody else is on the same page. So maybe we should switch to John Lake. Right? And so if you look at our business model, it's subscription based. We charge a monthly rate based on the number of seniors, and so that price is getting pushed down onto the family. Right, so we're targeting these assisted living facilities and home health agencies that have different packages that go in to actually check the care by hand, and then they will upload that to the facility. And so it's nice because we actually make the agencies money because we charge them this $20 per month, but they can upcharge it as much as they want. And so this really gets into our marketing strategy because basically like we can acquire 50 users at a time, but it's not just those 50 seniors, it's the 50 to 100 different family and loved ones associated with that. And that's nice because then you get the grassroots approach in terms of marketing and the spread through the word of mouth, which allows us to onboard the other seniors without marketing to them directly. Additionally, what's nice is that once we onboard the seniors too, they can ask and advocate for this within the other assisted living facilities that we're not in, as well as the in-home health agencies. Right. And so this allows us to target the family members, which we can charge $50 a month, and then also the home health agencies, which is another $34 a month. And obviously, it's an incredibly large market. So if you look at our competition right now, it's very fragmented. Everybody's trying to target one of these little pieces of the continuum of care. So they're trying to empower the caregivers, they're trying to empower the agencies, the family members, the seniors themselves, but there's no like congruence across the entire continuum. And so that's where we're different, is we refer down the line. So we've come a long way in the past 12 months. So we actually started at a startup weekend back in November. Since then, we went down to South by Southwest. We're named one of the top 3 student startups in the country. We spent the summer going through an accelerator over in Lansing. And then we actually had our first sign up for a paid pilot starting January 21st. We're having a soft launch at CES in a couple weeks that we're really excited about. Our MVP is almost complete. You can actually go on your phones now and sign up for an account. So I was really excited about that. And then, so just Q4 milestones, we were planning on getting our MVP and starting that initial test phase. And then, so we're raising our friends and family angel round. If anybody is interested, we're piloting with about 4 agencies next in the January. And we're building out like a dev team over in the Ukraine. And so if you look at the team, I'm Bailey Paxton. I've worked as a caregiver part of the office staff for the past 6 years for my parents' home health agency. And then my partner Brian has 20 years software dev experience. And then he has strong relations with the Ukraine. And so Marion's our front-end developer over there. And we're onboarding a few other developers. A bunch of really great advisors that really believe in us. So Jeff Leslie is the previous CEO of 2 Men in a Truck. And then Brian Petronix, the current CEO of Right at Home Corporate, which has over 550 offices worldwide. And then Claire Lewis has her PhD in applied gerontology. Today we're here to ask for connections in terms of fundraising experience. We're looking to add more experience to the team in terms of operations and marketing and sales, as well as people that are interested in piloting. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Excellent presentation. Good positioning for your product. Do you have a white label option so that a Brookdale or a Trinity could say this is their portal instead of an Agile Care portal?
Oh, absolutely.
And is that an exit strategy for you?
Yeah, so it's not really an exit strategy, but we definitely have opportunities to white label our product. We just haven't gotten there yet. As we continue to expand our product development, that's absolutely something we'll pursue.
Question right here.
So it's crazy. 6 years ago, I actually started a company called CareChat, which was literally a clone of this, and had another opportunity, so never continued it. So it's really exciting to see like very similar thing come to life. We got to a point where we built an MVP and we started going around talking to different assisted living facilities because we actually, both my grandmas were in assisted living. We noticed every family solved the same problem. Every family had a dry erase board or a notebook where they were communicating with the caregivers who did the work during the day. Families come after they get off work, busy at night. So that was the inspiration behind CareChat, is what it was called. My question is how many of these assisted living facilities have you talked to? Because our biggest problem is we found they actually didn't want to be accountable to the families that are paying for the care. They actually wanted to almost hide the fact that they weren't doing the things that you're paying for, taking care of your loved ones. So just curious if they like push back on that.
Yeah, so basically, we have relations with tons of home health agencies. And so it was actually from our customer validation that said that this would be a quicker path to market. And so one of the biggest challenges they're having right now is this struggle to compete, right? So obviously, like, that's a huge problem for them, is because they only want to do the bare minimum to get by. But they're in a position now where, like, they either have to or they have to get out. And so this is a great opportunity for them to compete against other people that aren't willing to go the extra mile.
Thank you.
So kind of just piggybacking off of that, is the app then two-sided? So if you're getting the home health care or the healthcare agency giving one set of information, can your loved one give a different set of information? So you're seeing, like, so, oh, he said he ate, but you know, we're getting input from my grandpa that he didn't. Like, is it two-sided, or is it just one person inputting data?
Yeah, and so basically you have the opportunity to input the data at different periods, but what they can do and what you could ask in that situation is for them to actually take a picture, right, and then send you that picture, and then everybody else also knows that, hey, they really did have that meal. I actually have an example of, like, they're eating chicken and Grandpa loves it, but basically, forget where I was going. So it is, like, two-sided, and so what's nice is you get that continuity of care, right? So if you have care 3 or 5 days a week, when the caregivers aren't there, you're there, and so you can also input that. And so then if you're tracking, like, mood, for example, you can say, hey, you know, Grandma's normally very happy, normally very conservative, and then basically one day she's way out of whack, but it's a new caregiver, and so she doesn't know. But it's nice because you get that continuity and say, hey, you know, that's a major red flag for UTIs. Right? And hey, you should probably get that checked out. And it's not just like this caregiver, it's just there's actually something wrong.
I didn't hear this mentioned. Is there a live feed involved with this? A FaceTime, chat with grandma, chat with grandpa function?
Yeah, we just don't have it yet, but we are pursuing that, like Zoom and then like FaceTime.
So I'm wondering if that would help with some of the things you're talking about. You know, I didn't eat today. I don't know.
Yeah, like
grandpa's talking to you. You know, you can
yeah.
request them.
Question right here.
Yeah, have you done any like user testing or getting feedback from them, even with just a prototype? Like, I'd have a little bit of concerns not only with the caregiver and does it work in their workflow, but, you know, the elderly as well. But is it, you know, is the user experience easy enough for?
Yeah, so actually, like, our target, the senior really typically isn't using this product. It's going to be the caregiver or the family member inputting this information. And so if the elderly person is able to input information, that's great, and then they can do the self-tracking. But that's not like a primary concern for us. It's more the caregivers and clients. But we have done user testing, and we're continuing to do more.
What was that feedback?
So basically, it's just kind of like fixing like the mobile like pilots and stuff, and then changing the fonts around. And so it's still early.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Last question. Right here.
Okay, so little background, my step-grandpa's currently in a care home. He has dementia and was hit by a car, and he's currently being treated by the most incompetent people in the world. We just discovered that they haven't been giving his proper medications, and that was only discovered because my cousin, who's a nurse, called and double-checked the medications they've been giving. Do you have a way to track what medications your loved ones are getting? And if so, are you concerned with HIPAA at all? Or, you know, handling the medical care aspect?
Yeah, so we've been trying to stay away from that for as long, or just in the very beginning, just because it's early stage and legal fees suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and you can take pictures, you can have them take pictures of pills, show them being given, and things of that nature. So that's kind of like how we plan to do it later on. But we're still early stage.
Okay.
That's all the time we got. Thank you. So at this point, let's transition. Great job to all of our pitchers tonight. Thanks for everyone who came out to pitch and prep those. We're going to transition now to our post-pitch announcements, our community announcements time. So if you have a community announcement, go ahead and line up right here in front of the whiteboard. And if you have a meetup or a position you're hiring for, you're looking for a position, you're looking for a collaborator, come on down and give your 1 to 2 minute pitch. We'll call one of you up at a time. As we're doing that, also, if you want to write your contact information up on the board right here after you're done, make your announcement. That's helpful in case people want to get in touch with you. Scott, you want to come on up?
So hello everyone, my name is Scott and I got a couple announcements, so I'm going to go kind of fast. First off, if you like the startups that you saw here today and you decide that you want to build your own startup but you don't know what to do because you don't know how to program, well, there's a meetup for that. Me and Michelle host a meetup group called Coffee House Coders, which meets tomorrow, that you can find on meetup.com. So if you're interested in learning how to program, come see us tomorrow. If you're still around here on Friday, we'll also be having an end of the month Beer 30 at the Tech Brewery. The Tech Brewery is a cool co-working space for startups, and so stop on by, get a beer Friday, and that's also on Meetup as well, and also check out our co-working space where you can build out your next big startup. That's it, and otherwise I'll be at the right side of the room so you can come talk to me if you have any questions. Thanks.
Come on up. You can stand right in front of the desk. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Dani and this is Naveen over there, and we are the new organizing team for Ann Arbor Health Hacks. A2NewTech is a local non-profit organization that aims or that wants to foster healthcare innovation and helps evolving startups. We are organizing an annual hackathon which usually takes place in summer, and we are also organizing monthly community events. Our first meetup is going to be next year, January 8th at 6:45 at the downtown library. So we hope you see many new faces there. We also have a website. It's a2healthhacks.org. And if you want to talk to me or to Naveen later at pizza, just find us and we are happy to talk to you. Thank you.
How's everyone doing? My name is Craig. I'm an MBA student. I work for Edward Jones. I'll be an analyst in the future. So my ask is, in like the next 5-10 years, I'm like looking to get my PhD as well. And what I'm looking for is just like some hands-on experience of like PhD research and dissertation research. So if anyone is like working on their PhD or has a friend, connection that's doing their PhD, and I could like shadow them for a day or something like that and just get some kind of follow them, talk with them, bounce some ideas off them, pick their brain a little bit, that'd be extremely beneficial. So I'll put my email up there, and if you know anyone, please let me know. Thank you all.
Hi everybody, I'm Amanda. I'm with Bamboo Detroit. We're a co-working space in downtown Detroit. I just wanted to share we're starting a similar meetup called Startup Detroit, where every month, the second Thursday, we're doing regular pitches and community updates, and we also have a regular happy hour. So if anyone wants to come down to Detroit, present, get more connected in the Detroit startup ecosystem, the website's startupdetroit.co. It has a Slack channel, we have a monthly happy hour, and then our monthly pitches. So we hope to see you in Detroit sometime next year, and I'll just write up the website and email up here for you guys.
Hey guys, I'm Tops from Backstage Detroit. I don't know if you guys know Backstage Capital. They just announced an office in Detroit. We're going to be running a 3-month accelerator starting March to June. We're actively looking for investors, mentors, as well as local community leaders who we can invite them over to Detroit, mentor the startups. We're also open to partnering up with a lot of community leaders, community events, so we can build a Backstage brand in Detroit as well as in Ann Arbor. I'll write up the link for Backstage Detroit right up there, and feel free to come and talk to me afterwards if you're interested in mentoring or being part of the startups.
What's special about Backstage Capital?
So we invest in underestimated founders, whether it's LGBTQ, female founders, people of color. We feel like there's a big gap in this, VC world where they kind of miss out on the opportunity there. A lot of the founders don't get the equal opportunity as a lot of the, male founders. So we're trying to bridge that gap. It's blown up in the Bay Area. They just announced an accelerator in Philly, LA, London, and Detroit.
All right, I will be semi-brief, not 5 minutes, but I might ramble. I'm Cody Vitale. I'm with Mitten Media Productions, and we do social media storytelling and content creation. That includes the targeting, video production, graphic design. Any brands or startups here that are looking to better tell their story to the largest digital advertising platform in the world, Facebook. You know, we have a lot of experience doing Facebook targeting and content creation. I've had content hosted on the Seth Meyers Show. It's national recognition. I've worked with our crew, with the Attorney General of Michigan, with Michigan's new Supreme Court Justice that got elected, and several others, local businesses throughout Detroit, Ann Arbor, and I'd love to work with any startup here, or any group that's looking to create a targeted social media campaign, or just wants one specific video. We've got licensed drone pilots, plenty of equipment. We've done behind the scenes for music video shoots, and plenty of product placement, and so anything you guys need from the video space or social media, I'd love to have your business, love to meet with you. And we're all in Jefferson and Detroit, and I'll put the info up there.
All right, so that, one more.
Yeah,
Go
one more,
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, no more.
So it's not my event, but actually it's an interesting event called the A2Tech Film Showcase. So if you check out A2TechFilm.com, it's a diverse short film showcase that highlights the consequences of technology. So think like Black Mirror or things like that, a little dystopian, but also some positive stuff too. And it's going to be again at the Michigan Theater, Friday, January 18th. And so if you do get a chance to come, it's a free RSVP. So how many film festivals do you get to go that are free and about technology? So check it out. It's a good time.
Alrighty, so we're wrapping up here tonight. I'm gonna head over to Pizza House in just a second, but Ann Arbor NewTech is always the third Tuesday of the month. So that means that our next A2NewTech meetup is Tuesday, January 15th. So mark your calendars now. We do have spaces open for pitches in January and February, although January's already filling up pretty quickly. If you want to pitch or know someone who should pitch, please send us an email at organizers@a2newtech.org. And our criteria, generally what we look for is technology product companies who are ideally have done some customer validation, spoken with prospective customers, and hopefully have built a prototype as well. Although we're a bit flexible on that, so definitely reach out and we'll talk through it with you and figure out if it's the right time for you to pitch. A reminder that in the meantime, in the next month, you can find us at madeina2.com/Slack, which is the way to access and get access to our Slack channel. Check out madeina2.com as well. It's a directory of Ann Arbor technology companies, so you may learn about some new companies you didn't know about. And quick show of hands before we head over. Who's planning to head over to Pizza House so we can get a sense of numbers? Okay, great. Well, then we'll see you all over there. And for those of you that don't make it, we'll see you next month, hopefully. Thanks.